Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Down by Contact Football Podcast, episode number 14. We're getting a bit old there, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm Dylan, your host, and as always, I'm joined here by Tom, the Cowboys fan.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Residential Dallas fan.
Yeah, that's great. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at DBC_football. Check us out on YouTube, DBC Football, or on the web, www.dbcfootball.com. Subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher, and make sure you actually listen to the podcast. I hope you get something out of it. How about you, Tom? What do you hope?
Same as you.
Great. Well, let's get started.
Let's do it.
We're here in our new studio.
Yeah.
We've moved to a location, and our studio does not have air conditioning.
It does not.
So if you hear a faint fan in the background, it's so that we don't die.
It's always good.
That is good. I'd prefer not to die. Today, anyway.
Yeah. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
That's fine. Without any further ado, we're going to jump right into the news around the league.
Let's do it.
First and foremost, Calvin Johnson, formerly known as Megatron, said, and I quote, "It wasn't worth my time to keep on beating my head against the wall," end quote. What do you think of Calvin, Big Cal, dissing the Lions?
I mean, it's a little unnecessary, but
Yeah.
at the same time...
Sounds pretty bitter to me.
Yeah, he's barely won in his career, so...
Yeah.
He's definitely probably, like you said, a little bitter.
You gotta take the Barry Sanders approach, you know? That guy's a hero there.
Yeah.
He's a legend. The greatest running back to ever play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I said it.
I believe it. I agree.
Yeah, you should. Bruce Arians had a cancerous spot removed from his kidney back in February that he actually published in his new book.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you, BA. That's actually his third cancer scare now. So, you want to make sure you're living healthy. Go get a full body scan.
Getting them checkups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get a physical yearly.
It's our wise words of
It's our
wisdom.
sage advice.
Yeah.
Yep, Sage Rosenfels. Pun.
Sage Rosenfeld's advice.
Emmanuel Sanders said, and I quote, "We're going to be throwing the ball around, so my conditioning has to be up. I've been working on that." That was a headline on NFL.com.
Says a lot.
That is some off-season fodder right there.
It is.
Are you buying or selling?
I am selling that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got two young quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You don't want them constantly throwing the ball.
Yeah, and they're kind of building up that run game. They've got three decent running backs. Yeah.
Two good and maybe one more decent.
Right. All right. Another quote to throw at you here. Marcus Peters said, and I quote, "We're going to beat the dog bleep out of him," referring to Marshawn Lynch for the Raiders. What do you think?
I'm not sure if he's ever faced beast mode, but get ready.
He has not. However, Marcus Peters is 4-0 against the Raiders, so all he knows is beating the Raiders.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I love it when that rivalry is up and running.
Mm-hmm.
It makes for good football, Chiefs-Raiders, and I look forward eagerly to both of those matchups this season.
I hope Mahomes pans out, because then the next 10 years are pretty much them being good.
Yeah, Carr v. Mahomes.
Right.
Mahomes v. Carr.
Be a pretty interesting watch.
Yeah. I was trying to think of a clever vehicle pun to insert there, and it didn't quite work out.
So think of your own.
Mm-hmm. Think of your own if you're listening.
Yeah.
Maybe email it to me. I need some help. Anywho.
Be a little late, but all right.
I was scrolling the web.
Uh-huh.
And I hopped on over to a little website that goes by the moniker of NFL.com.
I've heard of it.
Okay. And I read an article published by one Bucky Brooks, who is not a Marvel character, I assure you. He is a former scout. And he's one of their draft experts and their college football experts over there at NFL Network. He posted a pretty interesting article. Pretty interesting. Did you happen to catch it?
Did you happen to catch it?
Happen to catch it?
I did catch that specific article you were talking about.
It went by the title that I'll roughly butcher. It was referring to star and system players. Now, for those of you who don't know, a system player is some kind of scrub who is only successful because of the system in which he plays for the team that he plays for. Now, Tom, since you said you happened to have caught this article, written by one Bucky Brooks of NFL.com. Can you tell me who was the number one system player on that list?
I'm going to have to go with Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
It's his opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't just straight up say somebody wouldn't be good on another team. I mean, while the Cowboys are...
Sure we can.
Their offense is Dak-friendly. You can't say that he would just be horrible on
Riddle me
team.
this, Tom. The Cowboys would have been better with Carson Wentz. True or false?
False.
Really?
Yes.
You're a liar.
They might have been equal.
I no longer value your opinion. Not that I actually valued it in the first place. Don't lie. Don't lie. Lie on our podcast. What a jerk.
It's my opinion. Bucky Brooks can have his opinion. I can have my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I happen to agree with the article, and I'm tooting my horn over here because I was saying it all year. And now all
but
offseason.
another Cowboy was in that star player.
Yeah, that Zeke guy. He's pretty good.
He is.
All right. I have no qualms with that. The Chiefs officially upgraded Brett Veach to general manager.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that in the year 2000, right? That was a couple few years ago.
Yeah.
Brett Veach was a wide receiver for the University of Delaware.
Same.
His quarterback, was current Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy. And Matt Nagy threw a touchdown pass to Brett Veach, the new GM, that spurred a wild comeback against the Villanova Wildcats. How's about that for some history for those Chiefs?
It's a nice little tidbit.
You know it's the offseason when. These are the stories.
Talk about the University of Delaware.
Dude, Blue Hens, come on. Come on. Joe Flacco, Rich Gannon, come on. Yeah.
Name two more players.
No.
Exactly.
Gino Gradkowski. That's all I've got for you. Okay. Jarvis Landry has informed the Dolphins that he will not have contract negotiations go into the season. Same thing that his agent said a month ago, and still no contract. Mm-hmm. Is this news?
Not really.
No, not really. Hall of Fame defensive lineman Dan Hampton of the 1985 Chicago Bears said, and I quote, "If my team had Jay Cutler at quarterback, we would have won 4 Super Bowls. Buy or sell?"
I half buy that.
Half buy that. All right, 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, they could have won maybe another 1 or 2 outside of the 85 year.
Oh, yeah. Pass-happy quarterback from this generation and the 85 Bears defense.
Nice strong arm.
Yeah. Imagine Drew Brees on that team.
Be like 10 years of Super Bowls.
Right? Right? It'd be like Madden. Madden, man. You got to do it. Yeah, I mean, it's actually interesting. This is the second, air quote, Bears great, including Brian Urlacher, to come out in defense of Jay Cutler. So, hey, maybe people didn't hate him as much as, the media made it out to be.
Just his face. People just hate his face.
People hate his face.
He does not look like an NFL player.
Not really, no. But,
Did you, kind of a little off topic, but did you see Eminem with a beard?
No.
Slightly looks like Jay Cutler, a little bit.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to Googly that.
He had some, I guess he was out, there was some award show or something like that.
All right.
Had some pictures, he had a beard. Jay Cutler.
Little Marshall Mathers name drop.
Well, like a less bum looking version of Jay Cutler.
Like bum.
If Jay Cutler cleaned up a little bit, like cleaned up his neck beard a little bit.
Are you saying Jay Cutler should rap?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, he's retired.
I'd listen.
Just add it to his.
Maybe he can get on Marty Bennett's next album.
Why not? They play together.
Oh yeah, and Marty has such a high opinion of Jay Cutler. Yep, got to do it. All right.
Got to make up somehow.
Todd Marinovich is 48 years old. And for those of you who don't know who that is, he was a first-round bust of the LA Raiders. 1991, first-round pick out of USC, who most notably beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl. He is 48 years old. Do you know what he's doing?
He is playing football in some no-name league.
He is competing for a starting quarterback position with the, let me look down, SoCal Coyotes of the World Developmental Football League.
Yes.
Of course, Mr. Todd, most notably recently arrested while naked with a bag of weed and meth. A brown bag. Naked.
Just having a good time.
String of arrests since 1990. So
He's definitely had his
he's sober now.
issues. Apparently, that's what ESPN says.
He's going to get a starting quarterback job at 48. He helped coach the team apparently last year, and now he's going to compete for the starting quarterback job.
He's the coach now, so he's just going to put himself as a quarterback.
Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. I thought that was like the most interesting piece of news that I could find in the football world right now. I mean, it's so weird.
Yeah.
You know, I was expecting like Lane Kiffin to sign a baby or something to a scholarship offer down in Florida, but
he offered a scholarship to some woman who's still like 3 years away from getting pregnant.
What?
So he offered a scholarship.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. I didn't know where you were going with that one. I was like, wait a minute. The joke went over my head.
Come on, man.
Fair enough. I mean, I thought you were going sexist with that one. I was really concerned. Bills defensive lineman Adolphus Washington, cool name by the way, third-round pick last year for the Bills, was arrested for showing his gun at an Ohio water park.
Probably not the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, like what are you doing in life that you need a gun at a water park?
It's a pretty dangerous water park.
Are you like afraid of the water? And like you like peer pressure? I don't know. I mean, he did have his concealed carry permit, so it was a legal gun. He wasn't supposed to brandish the weapon, which I mean, I think that's pretty good advice for anyone. Don't pull your gun out unless you're
don't
threatened.
Bring it to a water park.
And don't bring it to a water park. I mean, to be fair, he was in his car.
Okay. Still.
But still.
What do you need? What goes through your head when you're like, okay, I should probably bring this to the water park?
Yeah, like the article didn't specifically mention what water park it was, but now I want to know. I want to go there. I want to check it out. I want to see what all the fuss is about.
See if the guns are a necessity.
Yeah, maybe I'll bring mine.
Yeah.
Just hang out. Maybe open carry day at the water park. I don't know.
Maybe he was a day late. Maybe it was the day before.
There you go. Yeah, he missed it by a day.
Yeah.
Oh, Adolphus. I can tell you. If I was, I mean, what do players think during the off season?
Probably think they won't get caught.
Yeah, it's so
or
weird.
it's
like Josh Huff.
They're famous, so they won't. Nothing bad is gonna happen.
So silly. I'm gonna throw two names at you, and then I'm gonna hit you with a third.
Do it.
All right, guys that are still free agents that are puff pieces are out there. Mm-hmm. Rashad Jennings is confident that he's gonna be on a team by the start of the year.
Mm-hmm. Best shape of his life.
Best shape of his life. So am I. Buy or sell?
I mean, it really depends on how things pan out.
Mm-hmm.
If there's an injury or two,
mm-hmm.
I mean, he's definitely not going to get signed to be a starting running back, but maybe just.
I'm selling this one hard.
Veteran presence, kind of.
I'm selling this hard.
I
mean, the guy has been so unavailable in his career.
I mean, that's really only just if major injuries happen.
Fair enough. DeAngelo Williams has retired from professional wrestling, and guess what? There's a puff piece about him being in the best shape of his life, and he's confident that he'll be on a team by the start of the season. Buy or sell?
I mean, I kind of sell that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did show he still has some burst, but I don't really know if he. I mean, is he 34, 35?
Yeah. Really, to be fair, I mean, he looked pretty good the last 2 years in Pittsburgh, so I'm buying this one more than I'm buying Rashad Jennings. Personal preference.
Yeah.
Go DeAngelo. DeAngelo. Darrelle Revis is, guess what? Still a free agent.
Yep.
So Revis Island is out there. He's getting paid $6 million this year, even if he doesn't play.
It's a pretty nice gig.
So if I'm a team and I sign him for less than $6 million, the Jets pay the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I found an article on NFL.com that suggested, two different people suggested. One person suggested he signed with the Cowboys. How would you feel about that?
I mean, they kind of have a youth movement going on. I just feel like he wouldn't be a good fit. And he's kind of about himself. He's not really a team guy, and they're trying to bring a team-first mentality in there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was falling asleep there.
You asked my opinion. I gave you my opinion.
Funny, another person on that NFL.com article mentioned the Eagles were a better fit for him to come in and tutor the young guys. And I actually buy that. I would enjoy that. I mean, I don't think he'll come in and be a big-time starter or anything, but I think he can hold his own here and there. Don't put him on a speed receiver. I think we learned that last year.
Flashbacks of Nnamdi Asomugha.
Nnamdi.
Some big-name corner.
I was waiting for you to go Byron Maxwell,
Oh, he wasn't as big of a name.
True. Contract was pretty much the same.
Yeah.
No, I think Darrelle Revis does find a fit.
Probably won't be till mid-training camp.
Yeah. Maybe it's due to injury. Maybe it's, I don't know. I think he's chasing a Super Bowl. He might have a couple years left in him.
He's already got one there, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he won with the Patriots. Yeah. So, but, we all want more.
I mean, he's going to sign with the team and then probably hold out that like a week later. So.
I know that he won't sign with the Bucs.
Yes. That's probably a fact.
So, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah. Other news, the Philadelphia Eagles, otherwise known as the best team in the NFL,
arguably,
have parted ways with one Darrelle Greenbeckham.
They have.
How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's a shame. I mean, the guy has all the talent in the world and he just couldn't put it together. I mean, he has talent similar to Randy Moss, but he just couldn't.
Yeah, he definitely has the physical talent.
Not really.
Clearly isn't putting it together. If he does end up signing somewhere, he cleared waivers, by the way.
Yeah.
If he does end up signing somewhere, this will be his third team in 3 seasons after being a second-round pick.
Not good.
That is not good.
When you're a second-round pick with that kind of talent and you get traded for a utility lineman.
Oh yeah.
That's
big
not
time.
Good.
Big time. Dennis Kelly. Excuse me. One last little bit. Gabe Jackson got paid.
He did.
Yeah, so the Raiders are solidifying.
Got
and
2/3 of the guys that need to get paid.
2/3 Khalil Mack.
Yep.
Khalil Mack's next. So the Raiders have a good young nucleus, and Reggie McKenzie. Bravo, sir.
Yeah.
Bravo. Maybe he'll get his son. Maybe he'll get his son down there.
Yeah, definitely turn that team around.
Where does his son play?
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
USC.
No, I'm asking the question. Where does his son play?
Oh, Tennessee.
University of Tennessee Volunteers, in case you're wondering. It's a fine program down there in Knoxville, as I speak into my Tennessee orange mic.
Just regular orange.
Easy, buddy.
It actually seems a little dark for Tennessee's a little more creamsicle.
No, that's literally the color.
Really?
Yeah. Come on, dude.
I thought they were a little more creamsicle kind of color.
It's a little dark in here. Maybe you just can't tell. Maybe your eyes are bad.
Maybe.
Maybe you do eyes, Cowboys fan.
Maybe.
Maybe you don't even realize you're rooting for the wrong team. Back on track we get.
I think there's a right or wrong team.
Sure there is. There's the Eagles and there's everyone else.
Uh-huh.
So as everyone is well aware, if you play fantasy, we're getting there, right? It's almost fantasy time. We're rapidly approaching fantasy season. We have our show this week, where we're actually going to dive into some NFC fantasy stuff, our top 5 of each offensive position, rookies to watch out for, and some sleepers. And in our next show, which will be our last show before converting back to weekly at the start of the preseason, which, by the way, starts August 3rd, for anyone who's wondering, at the Hall of Fame. Yeah, Cowboys, Cardinals, I believe, right, for the Hall of Fame game. And in that show, we'll dive into the same thing with the AFC. So our top 5 of each offensive position, 5 rookies to watch out for, and 3 sleepers. But for us, it's a little extra special time, right? We get that.
Oh, yeah.
We get our fantasy league up and running.
Good times.
And we do things a little bit differently, right?
Better.
Doing better. So, like, you've seen people drawing names out of a hat or something corny to pick draft order.
Pick a card. That's what we do in my other league.
Yeah.
Lame.
We step it up a notch.
We do.
Here
3
at
notches.
DBC. 3 notches. I don't even know if we have that many notches.
But we step them.
But we step them. No, we hold a combine. We hold a combine event to determine draft order.
It's an all-day thing. Starts at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
This is an event. This is the mecca of football drafts.
This is how you do it.
So, 16-team league, and we hold a combine, 10 events with different point totals and such. And the winner gets to select draft position, and second place gets to pick their pick, and so on from there. And then it's a snake draft, half-point PPR, and stuff gets wild.
It does.
It gets wild. So it's a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to it, and it's a nice big barbecue. We drink, we laugh, we have a great time. We run around, look like idiots. So definitely be on the lookout for that. We'll be posting a lot of videos from it. The actual draft date is August 19th. We'll be posting videos on our YouTube channel, DBC Football. So again, certainly be on the lookout for that.
Yeah.
But we're getting really amped up. The league is live. We've converted to Yahoo. Take a brief second to
We've done since the 3 years I've been in the league, we have done a different app every single year.
So we've kind of bounced around, and I've been in a few leagues, and Yahoo is the most consistent fantasy app, in my opinion, my humble opinion.
Never used it, so.
Yeah, so looking forward to using that. Had a lot of issues with ESPN 2 years ago, and NFL.com last year.
Did not want to open for
which
the
I
first
think
2 hours.
I may actually have that backwards, but yeah. They just have so many issues. So Yahoo actually did on July 10th. They updated all their servers to be prepared for week 1 of fantasy football. So they shut down their site for a day on July 10th, and now they're ready.
Yeah.
Right? They're ready for bandwidth. Width. Okay. But it's a really special time, and it's something that really, I know I certainly look forward to it all year. I commissioned this league, and
I'm ready for it. The second fantasy season's over.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the next
absolutely. And it's a lot of fun. It's especially disheartening, if you were eliminated, didn't even make the playoffs in your fantasy league the year before, you got an axe to grind all off season. You watch the playoffs bitterly. Your team's not in the Super Bowl.
An extra 3 weeks that you don't get to play fantasy football.
Yeah, so our league runs through week 17, which is rare, but with 16 teams,
you kind of have to.
You kind of have to. So we're really looking forward to it. We're super excited. We'll be talking fantasy from now until, basically from now until week 17, wild card weekend of the playoffs. So thanks for joining us, and we hope you get some value out of what we say.
Yeah.
I'll be sure it's a blog about, the different events, how I came up with them, how,
I came up with the relay.
How Tom came up with the relay, he's really excited about. But be on the lookout for that. We have a lot of fun. It's really silly, but it's
we all have a good time.
We're all adults. We love football, and we just want to cut loose,
Yeah. Have some good food, some craft beers.
Some of those craft beers. Beers of craft.
Yeah.
And as
Some Mike's Hard Lemon.
Oh boy. One of the things we definitely like to do is we like to incorporate natty ice into the events.
Sadly.
So you get a foul beer going on during the events.
Yep.
Anyway, be on the lookout for that. We'll be, talking about it, posting about it, YouTube, blog, obviously on the podcast. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And hey, if you have a question, start 'em, sit 'em. You want to know about a player, what one of us thinks about a player, drop us an email. Check us out, www.dbcfootball.com. Come check us out.
Do it.
We don't bite. Well, Tom might. I don't know. He's weird.
I am.
All right.
And I might.
So, like I said, this week we are going to dive into the NFC. Being that Tom and I both are fans of NFC teams, I thought, hey, let's start with the NFC. Let's do it. Plus, the AFC is a little bit better, so we'll save the best for last. Especially
a little bit.
Those New England Patriots. So let's just jump right into it. We'll kind of alternate. I'll start with my top 5 quarterbacks in the NFC for this year, kick it over to Tom, and then he'll start with his top 5 running backs. We'll run through the list. We'll talk about it, we'll give a few reasons why maybe, and I might throw a couple stats out. So first up, for me, for the NFC, Aaron Rodgers, number 1. Coming off a season where in standard scoring, the guy put up 380.02 points. That's insane.
It is.
Number 2, I have Drew Brees of the New Orleans Saints, coming off a season with 332.32 points. Kind of a cool number. Number 3, I'm dropping in Matt Stafford. Matt Staff. Stafford infection. That was gross. Of the Detroit Lions.
Is that your fantasy team?
Maybe. I'll keep it out there. Carson's Carnage and Ertz Wind and Fire is where I'm at right now. My two main fantasy teams.
Can I get a witness?
Boo. Stafford put up 279.78 last year in standard NFL.com scoring. Matt Ryan of the Atlanta Falcons. I have him at number 4. I am certainly concerned about the loss of Kyle Shanahan there. I don't know how Sarkisian's going to pan out. I don't know if they're going to run more, pass more. We'll see. Something to closely monitor in the 3rd preseason game. Matty Ice put up a solid year last year, number 2 in points for fantasy quarterbacks in standard NFL.com scoring with 347.46. And at number 5, a bounce back year coming for Cameron Newton of the Carolina Panthers. I think Cam bounces back in standard scoring. He put up 254.26 last season. With the addition of Curtis Samuel and Christian McCaffrey, I think only an upward trend for Mr. Cam Newton, and I think he doesn't take a beating as much as he did last year with a bit of a better running game. They're going to space the field out a little bit, and that's my top 5 in the NFC for quarterbacks in fantasy football, and this again is in standard scoring. How about you, Tom?
My list it's got all the same players, just different different placements.
Let's just rip through them.
I do have Aaron Rodgers at number 1. I mean, he's best quarterback in the NFC. They added Martellus Bennett, which
Marty
is
B.
just another weapon for him to throw to.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I'm putting Matt Ryan. I'm not as worried about the loss of Kyle Shanahan. I mean, he still has arguably the best receiver in the league to throw to.
One of the funny things about Matt Ryan is that he'll be overdrafted this year, and it's kind of weird to say, but because of his solid year last year, the kind of players who just look at the numbers from the year before, who aren't really that into it, they'll see that and think, oh, there's my top 5 quarterback, who really has a chance to be, I think he'll still be top 10, but it could allow you to get maybe a Drew Brees or one of those AFC quarterbacks we'll talk about next time.
Number 3, speaking of, I have Drew Brees. The Saints might not win a lot of games these days, but he still puts up big numbers. Pretty sure he had did he have 5,000 yards again last year?
Oh boy, caught me off guard. If he didn't, he was awfully close.
I mean, I know he holds the record.
He sure does.
The number of 5,000 yards. I mean,
seasons.
Yeah. I mean, they're a passing team, and he's still a good quarterback. So he's good for fantasy. Maybe not so much for his team, but for fantasy. Number 4, I got a bounce back from Cam Newton. I mean, even though he gets hit a lot, he still has the ability to run. Number 5, I got Matt Stafford.
Good choice.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a number 1 receiver, but he still.
Sure, he does.
Does he?
Golden
No.
Tate.
No. But he's
Golden Tate.
He's like a 2A receiver.
Whatever.
But I mean,
judgmental.
They throw the ball, so he should get some points.
Judgmental Jesse. All right, Tom, why don't you kick us off on NFC running backs fantasy standard scoring? Who are your top 5 for the 2017 NFL season?
I got David Johnson.
Ooh.
At number 1, just because he adds in the receiving yardage and the touchdowns. Yeah. Number 2, I got Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, the offense pretty much flows through him. Number 3, I have Devontae Freeman.
Okay.
I mean, another player they started handing the ball off a little bit more, which helps Matt Ryan. Number 4, I got Jordan Howard, because there's really nobody else to go to on that team. And number 5, I got a slight bounce back year from Todd Gurley.
We have the same 5 players.
Same?
Not in the same order.
Okay.
I actually, that's interesting. Yeah, we have the same 5 players. We should really. We don't like to compare notes when it comes to fantasy in the pre-production, just because we're gonna pretend we don't hear each other's ideas.
Yeah.
Since we're competing against each other in this fantasy league. I mean, I'm not really worried. I don't think Tom's ever even made the playoffs in my league. So
like I told you, my 3rd year is my good year. I need my first 2 years are kind of like feel it out years.
Yeah. I actually went with Zeke as number 1.
Really?
I did, even though he had about 30 less points than David Johnson last year, 293.4. I stuck him at number 1 just because I think David Johnson won't get worked as hard this year. I think they'll kind of maybe get some help for him there, and I did put David Johnson as number 2. He led all running backs in points and standard scoring with 327.8. Number 3, I had Jordan Howard to a 1.1 last year. Again, he's literally their only offensive player.
Except for Cameron Meredith.
Yeah, like I said, he's their only offensive player. Number 4, I expect a very strong bounce back year for Todd Gurley. 155.2, obviously the lowest point getter on the list, less than half the points that David Johnson had last year in standard scoring. But I have faith.
Yeah.
Faith in Gurley. They brought in Whitworth. They're going to be able to run left. Just run left.
Let's do it.
They won't be able to run right. Just run left. They traded a bust over to Detroit. Hey, things are starting to look up for the Rams.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Jeff Fisher's not there.
Jeff Fisher is not there anymore. Number 5, I have Devontae Freeman. I just am concerned about him losing some touches to Tevin Coleman, who has shown that he does need to take some of those touches. Tevin Coleman has shown to be a pretty good running back.
Yeah. So far, we're 10 for 10.
We're 10 for 10. We have the same players, just in different orders. I mean, mine is obviously more accurate than yours.
Is it?
Probably. So I'll jump into my top 5 wide receivers of the NFC for the 2017 NFL season in NFL.com standard scoring. Number 1, surprise, surprise, Julio Jones, Atlanta Falcons, 176.9 a year ago. Good for him. Number 2, Mike Evans of the Bucks, 208.1 last year. Mike Evans and Jameis have a serious connection. He led the NFL in targets last year. Number 3, Jordy Nelson, continuing his bounce back from the ACL, 207.7 last season. I mean, I think he's a shoo-in for 12 or more touchdowns. That back shoulder, no one does it better.
Right.
Number 4, I have Odell Beckham of the Giants, 195.6 last season. You know, he's ODB. He's an explosive player, and I think Brandon Marshall's addition helps free him up. They still have Sterling Shepard in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
Good for them. Not good for the Eagles. Number 5, I'm going to go a little curveball here. A little curveball. Bear with me. Carson Wentz had the most attempts of a rookie, man. Threw a lot of passes.
Uh-huh.
Imagine if someone didn't drop all those passes. I as much as I don't like him as a player, I don't know the guy personally, but as much as I don't like him as a player and I don't really have faith in him and he's a one-year mercenary, I honestly think Alshon Jeffrey is poised for a big year. So I'm going to put him as my number 5 in the NFC.
We'll see.
And it was tough. It was tough. I struggled with this one, and I don't want to be too much of a homer here. But I actually believe it. And I think he'll price himself out of the Eagles market, and he'll move on next year. So I put Alshon Jeffrey as my number 5, and I completely understand if you don't agree. But I think
you're entitled to your opinion.
Someone's got to catch all those passes, because we're going to throw a lot.
Definitely.
So, how about you, Tom?
Well, we finally have our first difference. 4 of the players are the same.
I kind of figured that.
To be fair, I did give him a quick consideration, Alshon Jeffrey, but it didn't last long.
Did you go with a Cowboy instead?
I did not.
Ooh,
you would be
okay.
surprised.
All right.
You would think I would, but I did not. Number 1, I went same as you, Julio Jones.
Mm-hmm.
You know, easily, like right up there with Antonio Brown.
Right. I mean,
best
he's a
receiver in the
freak.
league. Number 2, I actually went Odell Beckham. I mean,
Okay.
despite his antics on and off the field, he still puts up numbers on a yearly basis.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Number 3, I have Mike Evans.
Mhm.
The addition of Deshaun Jackson, that's just going to help him.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, Jameis Winston's a young, rising quarterback. Number 4, I have Jordy Nelson. It's Aaron Rodgers' favorite target. And, I mean, he always puts up touchdowns. You can count on him for double-digit touchdowns. Number 5, this is where we separate. I'm gonna
Okay.
go with Michael Thomas.
Okay. Yeah,
Saints.
that's a good pick.
Just with the loss of, I mean, they got rid of Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
And he definitely had a very good rookie year. So I expect,
absolutely.
Even more things to come from
Not
him.
afraid of a sophomore slump.
Nah.
All right. No, I like that pick a lot. I think Michael Thomas offers you a lot. I mean, he's a really, he's not a flashy type receiver. I mean, he doesn't, he's not a super speed guy. I mean, obviously he's fast, right?
He's got enough
but he's not a
speed.
super speed guy, and he's not a super tall guy. So he's kind of just that decent number 1-ish 2 type of player. I think he's obviously poised for a big year.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's the Saints, and Sean Payton hates the world. So watch Willie Snead have 2,000 freaking yards. But I do like the Michael Thomas pick, even though he went to Ohio State. Boo. I like the pick of Michael Thomas.
Right, so I guess
How about tight ends, Sir Tom?
number 1's pretty easy. Greg Olsen.
Okay.
I mean, he's the most consistent tight end in the
Mhm.
NFL. He might not be the most athletically gifted, but I mean, he plays 16 games and puts up numbers.
Mhm.
Number 2, I have Jordan Reed. The dude's a freak. Obviously, he misses some time, but
Yeah,
when he's on the field,
head issues.
Yeah, when he's on the field, he one of the best tight ends in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I
number-
don't argue with that at all.
Yeah, number 3, I have a return to the NFC in Martellus Bennett. Aaron Rodgers throwing to him should be a good connection. Number 4, I have Jimmy Graham. I mean, he's not who he was before, but he still can win matchups.
Mhm.
Number 5, I had a little tough time going with. I was thinking a couple players, but I eventually went with Kyle Rudolph.
That's a solid pick.
Right.
He put up a really good season last year,
him and
and he's
Samson.
clearly Sammy Sleeves' security blanket.
They definitely got a little connection,
Yeah.
little chemistry going there.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like that top 5. We have one different player, and
So
our
it's number
order
5.
our order is a little bit different. Well, 4 and 5 technically, and 1 and 2. Our number 3 was the only one that's exactly the same.
Okay.
So I put Jordan Reed as number 1.
Really?
Greg Olsen is getting a little bit older. They added Christian McCaffrey, who's actually going to take some of those mid-range targets that Greg Olsen normally gets. So I think he's going to sap his point totals. I think Greg Olsen will still put up his touchdowns, but I think that yardage-wise, Greg Olsen is going to suffer.
Mhm.
But I think the team is better off for it.
Yeah.
So I put Jordan Reed at number 1. He had almost exactly 25 points less than Greg Olsen last year in standard scoring. Obviously, he always misses time, so that's your biggest concern with Jordan Reed. However, with the loss of not only Pierre Garçon, not only Deshaun Jackson, but also
That's it.
I lost my train of thought there. But with the emergence of Josh Doxson, right? So he's got to eat in some of those targets, but I think he's a bum, so it won't actually happen. So I think Jordan Reed becomes the de facto number one. Not that he already wasn't for Kirk Cousins. I think Jamison Crowder still gets his targets, and I think Chris Thompson on third downs, obviously out of the backfield, has a decent time. But I think Jordan Reed will lead the Redskins in receiving this year.
Terrell Pryor.
We shall see. And like I said, number 2, I have Greg Olsen. He led the NFC in fantasy points for tight ends and standard scoring last year with 127.3. I don't want to get too far into that. I already said what I thought. Number 3, I also have Marty Bennett. I think he's a great addition for the Packers, and I think he's that mid-range target that Aaron Rodgers has really lacked in his time there. I mean, he hasn't had that guy since Jermichael Finley, who was injury-prone and didn't spend a lot of time on the field. So I think it's a big addition for the Packers, and when Tad Thompson dives into free agency, he usually gets a good one, right? So you're talking Charles Woodson, you're talking Julius Peppers. He picks those veterans very well. At number 4, I picked a guy who didn't flash all season, but he went on a tear to finish the season. While he only had 83.2 points in standard fantasy scoring for the season, he put up a lot of points in the last 4 games. I went with Eric Ebron of the Detroit Lions.
You didn't like him last year when I drafted him for
I didn't like him, but he put it together at the end of the year, and I think he could be a solid security blanket for Matt Stafford. I mean, he's a dynamic athlete.
I mean, he's another one with
He's kind of a Vernon Davis type of player, but you do have to watch out for injuries. So buyer beware, but I think that if Eric Ebron continues to put it together, we've got some good things happening in Detroit. And at number 5, I went with Jimmy Graham. I just have such a hard time trusting Seahawks offensive players. But, the guy put up 124.3 in standard scoring last season, so I can't knock him too much. I wanted to go Kyle Rudolph here, but Jimmy Graham has the slight edge in being a better athlete and better player. Yeah. So, those are my top 5 tight ends for the 2017 NFL season. Whoa. Now, for the NFC, we're also going to jump into 5 rookies for the National Football Conference to watch out for in the upcoming season, and maybe a little tidbit about why. I'm going to kick off. Sound fair?
Go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Tom. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
I try.
Now, just a quick note. All of these guys put up 0 fantasy points last year. Something to look out for.
That is true.
See what I did there?
Unless you somehow... There's
count their college points?
College fantasy football.
Hey, man.
Sure if that's a thing.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt that being a thing. And if it is, I got to get on that. So, number 1, I went with a conservative and safe pick. I went Christian McCaffrey as a rookie to look out for. Kind of looking at the offensive rookies from this draft class, the AFC won out on the offensive side of the ball. Yeah.
I mean, the first 4 receivers taken off the board were all AFC.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous. But I went Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I think he's going to be really good in the pass game. He's going to get some runs here and there. And if he shows he can run between the tackles, I think he becomes the starter by, week 4, 5, 6. So, Christian McCaffrey, he's obviously going to put up a lot of points. We talked about that after the draft. I don't want to, beat a dead horse here, so we'll move on. Number 2, I went with O.J. Howard of the Tampa Bay Bucks. Jameis Winston is just, giddy over O.J. Howard so far. So, I'm really excited about it. O.J. Howard is an extremely intelligent player, and Alabama really did him a disservice by not throwing him the ball. He chose to come back for senior year. They told him he would get more involved in the passing game, and I went through this on an earlier podcast. They threw him 5 more passes. I'm exaggerating, but do what you do. Number 3, I went with my man crush here. I went with Alvin Kamara. The Saints,
I was wondering.
That crowded backfield can't keep him down. Especially if your league gives you points in the return game. So look out for Alvin Kamara. I mean, he's probably one of the most agile players I've seen in the past 10 years. Number 4, I went with Jamal Williams, who I also talked about on a previous show, the BYU running back now smashing heads for the Green Bay Packers. Ty Montgomery, I have a hard time with his full-time transition to running back. It still seems like more of a gimmick to me. And Jamal Williams is your more traditional style running back. So I think Jamal Williams has a chance to carve out a real role in that offense. And at number 5, I really struggled here, and we kind of talked pre-production that I considered Dalvin Cook. I just can't get on the hype train for him. I mean, he just seems like the type of player who's going to pull a hamstring and be out for 4 weeks before the season starts. But and he's also got off the field things and he's fumbling issues. So I actually went with a conditional pick, and this is conditional if the Eagles cut Ryan Matthews, which I expect them to do when he's quote healthy. Donnell Pumphrey, he's looked really good so far. The guy's lightning in a bottle. He's been returning punts. Again, if your league gives you points for that sort of thing, not a lot of leagues do, but if yours does, it's a strong player to consider. I think, you're talking about the guy who broke all of Marshall Faulk's records at San Diego State. So, not really easy to do. Marshall Faulk, that guy was pretty good.
Yeah.
So, those are my 5 rookies in the NFC to look out for in the 2017 NFL season. Obviously, I think that's one that'll really change after the preseason is over.
Okay.
But we'll keep tabs on it. Exactly. So you'll see, what rookies start to carve out roles for themselves. You always got those undrafted guys who muscle and claw their way into starting positions or pivotal roles. So things to look out for. Tom, how about you? What's your 5?
We have a very different list. We have one player that it's not the same spot, but one player the same on our list.
All right.
So at number 1, I start with Samaje Perine. I feel like he's most suited to maybe win a starting running back.
He's just so similar to Fat Rob. That's Rob Kelly of the Washington Redskins, for those who are unaware.
I just feel like Fat Rob kind of disappeared at times last season, so he definitely didn't lock down that number 1.
That's fair. And Samaje Perine is a good running back on his own right, but we'll see.
We'll see. Number 2, the guy you don't like very much, I have Dalvin Cook.
Really? Number 2? Wow.
I feel like he could become a security blanket along with Kyle Rudolph for Sam Bradford. And, Latavius Murray's still healing from that ankle surgery.
Yeah.
So, he's kind of behind already. Number 3, I have Christian McCaffrey. The only reason I have him so low is because they pretty much drafted somebody who's almost...
Yeah, Curtis Samuel out of Ohio State.
And they also came out this week and saying Jonathan Stewart's still going to be their main guy. How real is that going to be?
Right.
But it's definitely something you got to think about. Number 4, I have Evan Ingram.
Okay.
I feel like you get a good athletic player down the middle for Eli. And plus they got Odell and
Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard. Yeah.
So.
And Shane Vereen. Don't sell him short.
Yeah. At number 5, I got one of those players you were talking about. If your league includes punt returns and kick returns, got a little homer here with Ryan Switzer. And that was a guy you were very happy the Cowboys got. Yeah,
really thrilled. I'm a big Ryan Switzer fan. I was really hoping that the Eagles got him.
I feel like he could definitely, he's not going to be a every week starter, but, once you get into those bye weeks, he could definitely be somebody, could give you some points on a spot start.
Heartbreaking. Ryan Switzer.
Those are my
so there you go. That's 10 rookies to look out for. Realistically, 9, but hey, at least we had some differences there. Our top 5 of each, and that's kind of how it is, right? Like coming into the season, everybody's really kind of got the top same 8 guys, who they think are in the top of each position, and they start to thin out, and we'll see what happens. Draft Phillip Rivers number 1 overall if you get the number 1 pick.
Number 2,
Steven Gostkowski.
Him too.
Yeah, no, we're just kidding. So sleepers for the NFC. Tom, I'll let you kick this one off, and I'll kind of get an insight to your strategy here.
All right. So number, I didn't really put them in any specific order. It's just kind of 3 guys. But the first guy I have on my list is Pierre Garçon. He's a guy that quietly puts up numbers, and people probably will overlook him just because he's on a very bad team this year.
Hey man, Hoyer's slinging the rock.
But Hoyer, I do like Brian Hoyer, but he always gets hurt. I feel like as long as Brian Hoyer's, playing, I feel like Pierre Garçon will be his go-to guy, and he could put up some numbers.
Yeah, he got paid like a number 1. He ought to catch like one.
Yeah. Number 2, I have a running back, Paul Perkins.
Paul Perkins of the New York Giants.
I believe the hype that they're going to try to
little perk.
Give him
time for the percolator.
Obviously, they didn't re-sign Rashad Jennings, so they definitely have a little bit of faith in him.
Yeah, Ben McAdoo, the weirdest looking man in the world. He's going to give Perkins the rock.
I hope.
Yeah.
Number 3, this is a guy you mentioned about 5 minutes ago, Josh Doctson.
Josh Doctson.
If he can stay healthy,
boy,
I feel like he could be a good number 2, number 3 receiver.
I hope I'm right, but I strongly disagree with you. I think Josh Doctson is, overrated.
I mean, he was a former first-round pick. So
he was.
He's got to show some potential.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect him to light it up, but
he was a TCU Horned Frog, if I recall.
I believe so. But if you're in a 16-team league like us and you're trying to find a guy in the rounds,
you're going to take Rashad Perriman and Josh Doctson
exactly
as perpetually injured receivers.
Yeah. So those are my NFC sleepers.
All right. And again, so just so everyone's clear, like these aren't like no-name players that are popping out of nowhere. Like we'll later on we'll give you a few diamonds in the rough is what we'll call those. But these are guys that are going to outplay their draft position. Mm-hmm. So when we talk sleepers and generic sleepers, that's really what we're looking at. We're saying guys that, you're going to draft in mid to late rounds, and they're going to well outplay their draft position. That's really what we're talking about when we say sleepers. So mine, and again, in no particular order, I don't think, this guy's going to have more points than that guy. It's just 3 guys that I think are going to outplay their draft position. First, I have Tim Hightower, running back of the San Francisco 49ers. Tim Hightower has shown over the past couple of years in his little resurgence that he is quite capable of handling quite the workload. Yeah. And Carlos Hyde of the San Francisco 49ers has shown that he's quite capable of missing games.
Yes, those are both facts.
Take those two things together, and I think Tim Hightower carves out a nice little role for himself for the 49ers. And if you're in a deeper league, you always need you start to scrounge for running back points, right? It's a passing league. You got to scrounge for those running back points. And if you get you get a chain mover, you're getting a guy who's going to give you 8 to 14 points a game in standard scoring, that is. So, and then if he gets, if you have PPR, he gets a couple catches here and there, which he did do in New Orleans, a little bit better than Mark Ingram. But I think Tim Hightower carves out a nice role in Shanahan's offense. I think he's the Tevin Coleman.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Number 2, the perpetually disappointing Tavon Austin for the Sean McVay-led Los Angeles Rams. I think he'll never live up to the contract that he signed, or the draft position. But he could be almost a flashier version of Jamison Crowder in the LA Rams offense. And I think that with the addition of Robert Woods and they drafted Cooper Kupp, I think I'm a big fan of Cooper Kupp. But I think Tavon Austin carves out a nice role, especially in PPR leagues. You want to maximize your value. You're talking 12, 14, 16 team PPR league. Tavon Austin's going to get you some points. And again, obviously, the guy's a former first-round pick. Everybody knows who he is. He has a big contract, but I think he's a player who will outplay his draft position. And at number 3, last but certainly not least, a guy who put up the most points of my sleepers from last year. He's a top 40 receiver, Adam Thielen, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings. Fun fact, Sam Bradford was the most accurate 20-plus yard quarterback last year.
When he didn't throw one 20-yard pass his entire career before that.
I mean, few and far between prior to that, but and that's with a terrible offensive line. They tried to address it this year. I think they'll be a little bit better, but still not perfect. Yeah. But I remember a specific play. It was a 71-yard touchdown for Adam Thielen. I mean, he is another security blanket type player for Bradford, especially when he goes deep. And being the most accurate 20-plus yard passer, I think the guy's going to get you some points. Yeah. He won't get you a lot of receptions, in my opinion, so maybe not the best value in a PPR or a half-point PPR league. I think Adam Thielen gives you some value with the deep ball, and I think he moves the chains here and there for Sammy Sleeves in the Minnesota Vikings. So those are my 3 sleepers, and again, I'll repeat it until I'm blue in the face. Guys who will outplay their draft position. I think Adam Thielen could really be the number 1 receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, yardage-wise.
Laquan Treadwell.
Oh, Laquan Treadwell. Moritz Bullringer. Is he still around? Is he on the practice squad?
Yeah, he was on that practice squad.
Yeah, good for Mobo. Did he go to New Orleans with Adrian Peterson, his favorite player? No, probably not.
Probably not.
Is that not how that works? It's not a package deal?
Nah.
No Mobo. Mobo.
No Mobo.
Somebody in this room had a fantasy name that was associated with Moritz Boehringer.
I did.
Yep.
I forget what it was.
People
Put
don't.
a bow on it, I think.
It was. People don't forget.
Boeh.
Yep. People don't forget, Tom.
Hey, I like those plays off the names.
Yeah, man. That's another thing. We need to have a serious conversation about on this podcast as fantasy team names.
Yeah.
We can, I was always very partial to the Big Janikowski, a play on the Big Lebowski.
I had a lot of Dak-themed fantasy names last year.
Dak to the future.
Dak to the future, Dak Street Boys.
Yeah. I mean, again, I said it earlier in the show, but
Dak and Black.
My two main fantasy teams for the two leagues that I'm most often in, Ertz, Wind, and Fire, play on Zach Ertz, and Carson's Carnage this year for the first time. So I've stepped down from the Big Janikowski and changed over to
we're Dill Lions.
Or the Dill Lions, right. So that was a one-year thing. Didn't quite work out. I'm very superstitious with my fantasy team names.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about doing like a week-by-week change.
Oh, you're one of those guys.
I'm not.
Don't be that guy.
No,
Everyone in the
just
league can't stand that. Seriously, if you're that guy or that gal that's sitting there thinking, I'm going to be clever and I'm going to change my team name every week, everyone else in your league, I assure you, hates it and finds it terribly annoying.
It might distract them. Play to my advantage.
If you ain't first, you're last.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much our show this week. We didn't get to dive into video games or movies or anything like that, but we got to talk fantasy. And when we get to talk fantasy, we're having fun.
Oh, yeah.
So be sure to join us again in 2 weeks, and we'll go over the same stuff with the AFC, right? We'll go our top 5 of the offensive positions, our 5 rookies to watch out for, and 3 sleepers from Tom and myself.
This one should be a lot easier.
Yeah, a bit more offensive talent in that American Football Conference.
Mm-hmm.
So, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming back and listening to our podcast episode number 14. We're getting up there, right? Episode 14, yeah. Again, I'm Dylan, the host. I'm here with Tom, as always, and sending our best to Bill this week. He couldn't join us. We're here in our new studio. We're super excited. Just wish we had air conditioning.
Be even more exciting.
Exactly. So be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at DBC_football. Subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher, and listen to our podcast. Check us out on the web at www.dbcfootball.com, and check out our YouTube channel, DBC Football. So be on the lookout for our next episode in 2 weeks, and be sure to
drink craft beer, stay humble,
have a good time, and love football.